Jared says there is something amazing about the lo-fi graphics for these type of games. Your imagination starts to fill the details in like reading a novel. I couldn't agree more. That's a good description. I've tried to explain that to my wife, how like original Dwarf Fortress was big, the big one for me for like this because it was in ASCII graphics. And I said, the learning curve is really steep, but once you get it, it's like unlocking the Matrix, right? And you're just watching the Matrix unfold in story-like fashion in real time, and there is little more satisfying than getting that feeling of unlocking the Matrix like that and really experiencing it. Kenny says DF was and still is a big inspiration for me. I have made comics. I have comics made in which the characters' names are taken from some of my DF forts. Awesome. Good work. Or even just using random name generator to get cool names. Very cool. I love that kind of stuff. Like playing the game is wonderful, obviously. But when then, like, that's one thing I like about the community, I guess, is that the community will then take what they had happen in the game and they'll tell a story about it on some forum somewhere, right? And some of those are just so engaging and enjoyable. I mean, that's a lot of what Dwarf Fortress is and what makes you want to play the game, I think. Makes new players want to play the game because you see what can happen. And like you were saying before, somebody was saying before, it's really all in your head, right? You're making the story up, you're seeing the things in your head, which is a little bit less true since it moved from ASCII graphics to what it is now. There are upsides and downsides with that, but even now it's like you're telling the story, right? It is the source material, it's the inspiration, but the main storyline is what you're creating in real time in your mind. And games that make that happen, Caves of Cud to an extent is like that as well. It's just fantastic. It's a great experience. It isn't, when I try to talk to people about why I like games as an art form, that's one of the reasons that I give them is that you can't really have that kind of experience with other types of art. It's pretty unique to good, deep games of this nature that they're story generators rather than a book, right? It's to create your own adventure, create your own story as you go. It's just fantastic. It's not something you can emulate with a piece of fine art painting or something like that, which is nice in its own right, of course, but it's different. And I wish more people, certainly more people of other generations, would appreciate games as the high art form that they can be. On that note, the first game that gave me that thought was Dark Souls. To go back to you were asking what other games I play. I played the Dark Souls trilogy and Elden Ring and all the rest. Got really competitive at PvP in Dark Souls 3. And I think that storyline is maybe the first game where I actually played through it all and I said, this right here is high art in game form. One of the best stories ever told, one of the best ways to tell it, right? And I just wish I could give that experience to more people. I think the difficulty of it turns some people off, obviously. It brings people in too. Like that was what drew me to it, but it turns some people off of it. And you can't really distill the story to just anybody. They have to get into it. They've got to enjoy the difficulty. And I think you got to play through all three of the original ones to get to the end of the DLC, at the end of time and see the whole story knitted together such that it is. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And honestly, it made me appreciate games in a way that I hadn't to that point, having played games for 30 years at that point. Well, okay, 20 years, we'll call it 20 years to that point. And the first time that I'm like, definitively, this is high art that needs to be compared with high art of other forms. And I wish more people did that. More people saw it that way, basically. So there's my rant on Dark Souls and high art in gaming. Britz Britz says, I think some stories can only be expressed through a hard experience. Some books you have to struggle through, but are worth it. That is a really good point. I really like that. Getting some of the experience through suffering or through challenge, or you feel like you've earned it. I absolutely agree with you, is really critical for not just stories, really. I mean, life events too, right? I have a number of them that I could tell you about, but I'll tell you, I am a through hiker. In the past, it's been 5 years now since I did a through hike. If you're not familiar with what that is, I walked the Appalachian Trail from south to north, which is more than 2,000 miles, roughly 2,000, call it. Uh, Took 4 months, and on the face of it, it's just walking every day, right? But the reason that it is a critical turning point or a critical moment in my life is because it was so difficult and so varied, right? The walking from day to day is varied and difficult in different ways. Um, you meet all kinds of different people. I met my wife, as a side note. Like, it's a critical point in my life, and a lot of it comes down to it being hard, it being a challenge, right? Otherwise, it's just walking. Who cares? So I'm right there with you. Living through the hard experience or expressing something through the hard experience makes it stick, if nothing else. Good chat today, guys. Thanks for all the interaction. I really appreciate that. All right, let's buy these two ranged cybernetics.